Welcome to episode 1 of Webway Radio. I'm your host, Kurt.
I'm your co-host, Mark.
And we've been gone for a little while. We've come back. We've reset.
We have appeared from the ether.
We have come out of the Webway.
Out of the Webway.
Oh my gosh. That works. I like that. We're back. I'm back. Mark's here now. And we're going to revive the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe. We had fun recording. We talked for about an hour, I guess, which was shocking. I haven't done this in a while. Yeah, it goes so fast. And you talked a lot more than I thought you were going to talk. I'm so proud.
I have that skill.
So good.
It's the shutting up. That's the hard part.
But we're back. We're going to start doing this more consistently. We're working on a schedule. We're going to pre-record a bunch of episodes and hopefully keep to a 2-week schedule this time around. So if you're still out there, if you're still listening, welcome back. To celebrate us coming back, I remember to say it. Webway Radio is going to give away a dice set. So if you're out there, if you found us on YouTube, if you randomly clicked us, if I haven't already given you dice, send me an email at webwayradio@gmail.com. First one to do so, I will send you a beautiful 12 die set of Webway Radio dice. If I have to ship a set to New Zealand, I'm going to regret saying this, but I will. I know a set has gone as far as Scotland thanks to War Games Live, and they still occasionally listen.
That's cool.
I had a hit in Sweden last week.
Oh, wow.
Somebody's been listening to the podcast, which is insane. It's been dead for like 3 months.
Wow.
And like late January, somebody was like, I'm going to listen to all of them. And they did.
Wow.
And then the last 2 or 3 episodes I put out has been getting 4 or 5 hits a week.
Yeah.
Which is insane. So I don't know if somebody's like accidentally hitting play or something, but somebody's out there. I think, this was enough rambling at the beginning. It's going to be the same format for the most part. This episode's really just kind of getting to know Mark, who he is, why he plays, what he plays, all that fun stuff.
A mistake you can't undo.
Oh. But let's just go ahead and jump into hobby progress.
Yeah.
And we'll get this show on the road.
Sounds good.
All right, let's move on to hobby progress. Mark, do you want to go first?
Sure. I have been working on Tau recently. I've been sitting on a bunch of unopened boxes in shrink wrap, and it's just sitting in my closet. It's just a shame. It's like you open the first one to see what it looks like, and then it's like, I don't need to check the other ones.
Not today.
Not today.
So you've got quite the pile of opportunity.
Yes, the pile of opportunity. I've got a color scheme for them. All that's planned out. It's just kind of the building them.
Doing it.
Yeah. Unlike Space Marines, there are a few more bodies on the table for Tau.
A couple.
Yeah, and all the antennas and all the little bits. They're not hard. It's just there's a lot of them. So
I think I was encouraging you to try to go more bigger, heavier, less bodies, more suits. And you were like, no, I need 140 like Tau bodies on the table.
Yeah. I'm definitely a big fan of infantry over vehicles, which has not served me well at all in this game. There's just constantly getting stomped by vehicles. I like dreadnoughts and all that stuff, but I did add some more crisis suits to the list.
Okay.
And I picked up one more box so I can have 2 units of them and like Ghost Keel and all that stuff. But
yeah. Well, that's how my Space Wolves were. I hated the idea of like tanks and things. So we're Space Wolves. Like, that's what we do.
We don't need tanks or Space Marines.
And the first few times I played them, I just got tabled so hard because they would just get... This was back when blast templates were a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, oh, cool, my army's gone at the top of 2. Nice. And bought a couple of rhinos, a couple of drop pods, and suddenly it was a decent army.
Get them in. To be fair, I have Devilfish. So it's like Breacher Fish.
Yeah.
And then... mainly I'm trying to go for Montka, so very aggressive.
That's turn 1 through 3.
Yes.
My Tau knowledge is just not there.
It's all good.
Not a fish people guy. But
mine is barely there. But it's mainly playing Imperial Fists and just trying to play a ranged gun line.
Sure.
I realize at turn 2, they're in my face anyways. So looking at the detachments for Tau, I was like, why don't I just lean into this and just make it really painful for them to do that or try?
I like it. The few times I've played Tau, especially against my buddy Wesley, has been just like, oh, they're just Tau. I was like, oh no, those guys hurt. Especially if you're, I think, further away, it's more AP. Oh. Or how does that work?
This one is I believe it's closer, and it's if they're guided. And I think everything just has assault.
Okay.
And then I forget the other rule. I think it's maybe lethal hits or something. Nice. But yeah.
Well, I mean, my army now is all T3, so that doesn't matter anymore.
It's just the guys are getting reduced to boots at that point. But
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, so that's
new year, new army.
Yeah,
I like it.
Slowly doing that, magnetizing, because of course Tau have a million weapons.
Yep.
I was spoiled with Space Marines, where it's just throw a bolter on it. It's fine.
That's, I mean, kind of their thing.
Yeah. Well, especially the way I play them, unfortunately. Wow. I guess other than that, for Hobby Progress, doing a little bit of Heresy stuff.
That's right. I conned somebody into playing Heresy with me. Finally, after like 7 years of trying to get somebody to play Heresy, I have convinced Mark to start playing Heresy. So you've got Imperial Fist for Heresy too.
Yes. Mainly because they don't suck so much in Horus Heresy.
It takes so much flack, even in our little group, about like, oh, it's just Marine on Marine. But once we really dove into the rules and played a couple of games and added the layers to it, it's really not Marine on Marine, at least in the sense that where it's the same lines. I mean, the army rules really change how everything plays in the army.
Yeah, well, it takes advantage of the fact that the Space Marine line is so vast because all of the different factions want to play with different parts of that vast array of units. So it's kind of, we have the same pool of units, 95% the same pool, but what you actually end up bringing is so significantly different that it feels like you're playing different armies, but it's kind of cool. It's like, oh, I like that unit you're bringing. I'll bring it. It won't be as good, but it's kind of, you can lean into one thing or the other, and it makes it very distinct. You get to put personality
and unique weapons per army. So like Death Guard are the only ones that can take a power scythe. And anybody that can take a power weapon can take the scythe instead. Yeah. So that's that unique, like, kind of Death Guard-y thing that they get.
I get shields.
Those, and vulns. Oh my goodness.
It's what I put on the Tartaros Terminators that I finally have the bits for.
Those dudes were
I think it's a 3-up invuln.
It's insane.
Yeah, so I can just slap that on any of my Terminators and I think some characters or something. They're expensive, but they're going to be a pain to try and remove.
They were a pain to try and remove.
Did you kill any of them?
One, I think. Maybe?
I think you wounded one. I don't think
you get to reroll or something too, though.
Not with those ones. Oh, so that's the one nice thing. It's not.
All I know is you were making saves and then re-rolling the bad saves, and it was like, cool, I did a wound on 40 shots. So that's how Terminators should be, though.
Yeah. No, they should
Mortal wounds. Get out of here.
With the detachment I was playing, I couldn't deep strike them, so I just have to.
You totally cheated that game.
I absolutely did. Yes, they didn't hear the mission briefing for this one, so they dropped in thinking they'd be cool.
We're still learning the rules. It's fine. It's fine. Cool, man.
Yeah.
And it looks like you've got a few other things here, or at least one other thing here.
Oh yeah. So I had heard about this game middle of last year and kind of glanced at it and didn't pay much attention to it. And then last month, it came back up in my feed, and I actually took the time to look at it. But it's called Blackout. It's a skirmish, I guess, hard sci-fi game where it's less grimdark, less extreme. It's got a bit of that like Chappie, Titanfall kind of near future where you've got still easily recognizable military units with guns that look pretty similar to our stuff, but then there's also just like mechs and just non-organic infantry kind of running alongside. But I really like it because I can play it with less competitive people because it kind of gets rid of the rigors of list building, because normally that's the biggest barrier to entry when I've tried to introduce new people to the hobby. And that's just even with games like X-Wing or Armada,
Legion. I mean, that was learning how that worked was half of learning that game.
Well, it's just you have to play the game before you even hit the table. Like what you're bringing there's so much information you have to digest before you even play it. And so just sitting someone new down, you basically have to spoon feed them. Here's a list for you. And that's fine, but a lot of people, that's kind of a deal breaker.
Right. So we're going through that now with Chris and Adam, new to the Discord we've got. And trying to like explain, well, this works like this, and this doesn't, like this terrain thing is crazy, and like you can't do all these things, and well, that guy's not good and efficient with this, so try that. And it's been a thing.
It's a big upfront learning curve. So, but yeah, part of the appeal of Blackout to me is kind of the units are predefined a little bit.
Yes.
Instead of paying points, you bring squads that are already like, here's 4 guys and they have these weapons, and you bring the same number of cards and the squad could be 3 guys or 4 guys or 1 guy.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of the way you balance your things is normally you'll both just take 3, but it's kind of, you still have the flavor of all these distinct units and stuff, but you're not having to make all the upfront decisions of how many grenades am I putting on this guy kind of thing. It's
Sure.
a little bit more.
Where do I spend that 5 points?
Yeah. It's a little bit more streamlined, but it still has some good flavor, and it's fast because bullets kill people, as it turns out.
And I think you're playing your first game or learning to play, teaching to play this weekend.
Yes,
right?
that'll be quite fun. I've painted most of the squad of Manticore, Boar's Manticore group.
Okay, and that's the one you've posted on Discord.
Yep. Cool. So, and I'm going with the, I guess, canon color scheme for them, which is dark gray and red helmets. They
look good. Yeah. And I think I've told you they look enough like Infinity type stuff to where it's like I've been looking at my Operation Ice Storm over there, like it's like, don't, Kurt, don't do it. Don't get into something else. So
there are way too many fun games and not enough time.
Oh man, try having a couple of kids on top of the mix. Like it's something. So anything else for your hobby progress?
Not enough of it, but I think that's about it.
I've been busy. Mm-hmm. If anybody listened to past episodes of the podcast, you would know that I was jokingly trying to sell my World Eaters for a while. And it was always a joke. Like, ha ha ha, I'll sell them off. Well, I finally did. Jeff, which we've talked about on the podcast many times, was trying to offload a Gene Stealer Cult army for ages. And I've always had that like, man, those are cool. Those look kind of cool. He wants to build basically an army of every Chaos army. And I kind of joked, like, do you just want to trade? And he was like, yeah, okay. I was like, oh, he's serious. Like,
oh no.
Huh. And I got to thinking about it. I was like, I've always wanted a Gene Stealer Cold army. Mm-hmm. And it's really funny because he came over and we traded and did all the things. And I messaged him a couple days later. I was like, hey, man, I feel like, I just didn't want to feel like I screwed you on the trade. He's like, I was thinking the same thing. And so I guess we were both so happy with the trade that we got. We kind of thought we screwed the other person.
Yeah.
But I ended up throwing in all of my old Chaos stuff that I've had for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
That I bought, used in a parking lot of AT&T in Franklin, Tennessee, like 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Off Craigslist. Super sketchy. Dude just like threw the stuff and I handed him money and I was like, I hope I got what I thought I was buying.
It's Chaos, man.
It was all old metal minis, and then it was the new World Eaters army that I had been assembling and painting. So I've given him all my World Eater stuff. I was like, here, just take it. I don't want it. It's gone. And I think from a model count perspective, the trade was like 3-1 in my favor because Gene Stealer Cult.
Sure.
Just with what was assembled. It also came with 3 of the old Start Collectings, which from. Yeah, it's like, man, I just inherited like 300 models. It's like I was trying to get rid of stuff and somehow I gained more stuff.
Just don't do it by your hobby progress by model count.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's just, I went backwards here.
That's exactly what happened. But since then, and I guess that was probably October, November, we did the trade. I've been going hard on Gene Stealer Cult, painting them up, researching them, learning to play them slowly, because there's a lot.
Oh yeah,
with the army, which we still need to play a game.
We do.
All the hanging out we've done, we haven't played 40K together. That's so funny. But I, in the past, have been a big opponent of contrast paints. Mm-hmm. I've talked a lot of crap about contrast paints. Mm-hmm. And I would officially like to issue an apology to everyone that uses contrast paints. Because I have found a scheme using, I don't know the colors. It's Nighthawk Gloom and one of the weird dark yellows. And it looks okay. But then I do the guns and the bits and I do like one of the purple contrast on the skin. And I slather the whole model with AK Interactive Streaking Grime.
Ooh, okay.
And then pull it up. And it looks really good. No, they're dirty. They're grimy. They look like they just crawled out of like the mining facility underground.
They do look really good.
I've got the bases I've custom printed that have like the minecart track on it, which basically do the same thing. It's wood and like a white color and minecart tracks. Mm-hmm. And you hit it with the AK Interactive Streaking Grime and pull it up with mineral spirits, and it looks really good.
No, I'm definitely a fan of how just the colors you've picked, but actually You do make a good point, though, about kind of contrast paint is using it in conjunction with other techniques improves. I feel like it improves the look of them so much.
Well, and it's fast and dirty. I don't have to clean up things. I mean, if there's obviously like yellow where there should be blue,
right,
I'll clean that up.
Right.
But for the most part, like I don't have to worry about like, oh, it's over a little bit because the streaking grime just hides all of that.
Yeah.
And it still looks really good. And it looks like I've put a lot more time into them than I have. And I'm okay with that because I can bang out 20 neophytes in like 3 hours.
I'm jealous of that. That's wild.
Might I suggest streaking grime, good sir? And a bottle of mineral spirits from the Hobby Lobbies.
Have my towel rolling around in the dirt.
Back in the day, and I know I've talked about this 1,000 times to anyone that's listened, we used to min-wax dip our models.
Oh, wow.
And I have a bottle of it on my hobby desk because I was like, I'm going to do my Tyranids like this. And then I found streaking grime. I was like, oh, we're doing that instead. But you can get a bottle or a can of the Minwax for like $20 at Lowe's and dip your entire army, shake them off, and leave them out on the table to dry for a couple hours, and you're done.
Oh, wow.
So, but streaking grime is better and faster and cleaner and doesn't smell as bad. And
fair enough. Just a couple benefits.
It doesn't sound like you've resurfaced or smell like you've resurfaced your floor. So it's nice. As far as other hobby progress goes, gosh, took a little bit of a hiatus there. So I've worked on some 30K stuff. I've been doing a lot of 3D printing commissions, some for you.
Yes.
I saw a dude posted Nash Hammer about a month ago. I was like, hey, I need somebody to print some Eldar terrain for me. And I talked to him a little bit. He sent me the whole Kickstarter and he only wanted 3 pieces printed. So I was like $20 a piece.
Wow.
And it came out so good. In fact, it was so good, we played a game of Heresy with that gigantic Eldar gate on the table.
Oh, we did.
Because it looked so cool.
That's where that came from.
Yeah, it's gone now. But it was crazy. I met the guy outside of Games Workshop on a Sunday afternoon at noon, so they were opening, and it was almost like an open air market. Wow. Everybody was just parked in the parking lot. It's like, are you, username XYZ? I was like, no, I'm Silver Lithium. I'm looking for this. It's like, no, but it was like 15 people like, hey, who was here for the Tau stuff? Or who wants Cruel Boys? And it was crazy.
That's so cool.
I need to figure out, there's got to be a way to make money off that. I need to go up there and just set up a table in the parking lot.
Just have a banner with your username so everyone knows where you're at.
But I was like, I'm here for the Necromunda stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I got you. And he's like in his truck going through boxes. I was like, that's what I needed. So it was interesting. Of course, I had my daughter with me, so I was like, please don't get robbed. Please don't get robbed. Please don't get robbed.
Sure. Poor timing there.
Yeah. and not necessarily hobby progress, but like I mentioned earlier, Chris and Adam are kind of new to our Discord, and I invited the guys over to just kind of hang out and meet and greet and like, that's cool before, I invest time and get to know people.
Yeah.
Kind of like I did with you.
Yeah.
They were talking about needing some terrain, and of course I have bins of 3D printed terrain that I was ready to chuck it. And I was like, oh, they might want it. They took like a table, like covered tables worth of terrain, not a table to play on, but like probably 3 tables worth of stuff. I was like, here, man, I'm going to chuck all of this. Just take it if you want it.
Cleared some space.
Thank you for taking that. I appreciate that. I still have way too much. If anybody's looking for Star Wars Legion or Star Wars Shatterpoint terrain, hit up you boy, please. Please. At this point, I'll give it away.
Is it bad that if you hadn't have said that, I wouldn't have noticed that there was terrain missing?
Yeah. I have a problem. There's a reason I have a show where I talk about this. It's not... I know what I am. My wife knows what she married. It's fine. So I guess since I'm just talking, I'll go ahead and jump into games played. So let's talk games played. I played a game against a relatively new guy named Steven. He joined our Discord a while back. I hate to say I'm sniping people from other Discords, but if anybody's like, hey, I'm new to the hobby, I'm the first to send a message like, hey, I've got this little group of dudes. So I found him. He was over in I'm going to call it Manchester Games Discord. I can't consistently say polyhedron. So I'm not gonna. And he came over. He was actually practicing for an event over at another local store that I'm not going to name. And he just wanted to kind of practice. So we ended up pulling a mission from their player packet and all that stuff. And we kind of went through how to set up the train and how it works. And he hadn't really played in a tournament before. So I was able to really kind of walk him through all of that.
Yeah.
Granted, it was like a 5-hour game because I was learning a lot of my rules and trying a new detachment. He was kind of figuring his stuff out. But we had a lot of fun. Turn 1, he tried to charge Mephisto into a bunch of Gene Stealers.
Oh.
And they have Invold, so thankfully they made way more than they should have. He should have picked up the squad, but he only killed like 3.
Oh, goodness.
So the top of the next turn I got to fight, or no, bottom of the next turn I got to fight, and then like countercharged him with a bunch of aberrants and an abominant, and just picked him up. I was like, ooh, it's going to be one of those games.
Oh, no.
But it was actually really close. It was really cool because Jay Stealer Colt, we come back. So he'd kill a unit off, and of course I'd pick him up, and next turn I'd put him back down in his deployment zone or in the back or here and there. And just off of that alone scored probably 30 secondary points because I'm able to get in the corners. I'm able to do this. I'm able to do the engages really easy. And the army is so tricksy. I completely love it. It's my favorite way to play. It reminds me a lot of 9th edition Drakari.
Okay.
And that makes me sad because we're not like we used to be.
Oh,
I miss my melee Drakari.
They're still pretty looking though. The models.
They are, but and I think I talked about this before too. I always said if the Tantalus survived the Codex Purge, I would buy one.
Is that the double wide bow?
Oh. Officially went Legends last week.
Oh, that's depressing.
Pouring out for my boy, but now I don't feel bad 3D printing one. So
this is true. Fair enough.
I'm still gonna have one. It's just not gonna be Forge World. We both kind of did a little bit of, I guess, kind of feeling out games to see what we wanted to play.
Yeah.
So I think every week for about a month, we got together and played Warcry, we played Heresy, we played Necromunda, we played Marvel Crisis Protocol, just to see, let's try this, let's try that. I want to show you how this works. Let's see these mechanics. I love Necromunda. I've said it 1,000 times. I will quit 40K tomorrow and play Necromunda and Heresy and sell everything else.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Warcry. That was different.
Warcry's cool.
We couldn't really get buy-in from anyone else.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Age of Sigmar thing is kind of the barrier to entry. It's not as it free rules with the downside of you have to find them, which at least Warcry makes it a lot easier than even I knew it was.
Yeah,
but no, the game's super super fun. I play it with a lot of people who don't play a lot of bigger games. Like I play it with my uncle a decent amount, and he used to be way back a fantasy like chaos player. So he gets to like bring some chaos warriors and bring them on. And
I didn't realize this. I guess they're due for a new edition. Warcry's due for a new edition this summer, but there's been nothing about Warcry. I think I heard on a different podcast since September, which is not a great sign.
So I haven't heard anything about a new edition other than it's due based off the 3-year cycle.
3-year cycle.
I haven't heard anything confirming that.
Right. Well, I haven't heard anything about Warcry since
they've been updating it when there are new units for Age of Sigmar. They have been adding stuff. So like when the Skaven box came out, they changed like the. I guess that was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been almost a year, bud.
But I haven't built the models yet.
Yep. Welcome to my problem. Don't look over there.
It's fine. You can't see mine, but I have a problem too. But I expect when like all the new Soulblight Gravelord stuff comes out, when they add the new, I guess, Barrow Guard, just the new refresh of Soulblight Gravelords, they've been updating it here and there. I guess Warcry players are used to not a lot of attention because it is pretty quiet, all things considered. But they have put out a couple videos where they're showing kind of, they've got like balance patches, and there weren't balance patches forever for that game.
Wow.
It was like cool. Kind of a meta swap up. And I haven't looked at it in the last maybe 2 months.
Yeah, probably since we played.
Yeah.
But that was neat though, to just try different games. And I wish we could have got some more people to kind of jump in on us with that. And just like, hey, because playing MCP was like, man, this is really fun. I hate that this just kind of fell off the face of the earth around here. But it's a fun game. Yes. I love it.
That's honestly I feel like the biggest challenge right now is kind of, because I love Legion. I haven't played 2nd edition, but
join the club.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many people around here selling all their stuff because it's like second dropped and the game just died overnight.
Yeah.
At least here.
Yes.
I wish I was going to Adepticon just to get a feel for all of that. But I guess they just released the Geonosians in a 10-pack instead of a 5-pack.
Yes, they are.
And it's like $1.50 per model cheaper in the 10-pack. So that's really good news, I think.
Yes.
At least for the game.
They're updating so I think part of the reason it was a little rough is they released with just print and play rules, but not everything had updated rules. So it's kind of
Shadow Collective box sitting in the corner that I bought 3 days before the a new edition dropped and killed the army. Thank you.
They're still there.
They are, but they're no. Also looking to sell a Shadow Collective box for Star Wars Legion if anybody's out there looking. Real cheap.
Several.
Yeah.
But no, they are. It looks like they're re-releasing stuff, and they're also kind of they released a roadmap. I think that goes into 2026, but they're redoing the plastic. From being soft plastic to hard plastic. So it's resculpts for a lot of stuff.
That's fantastic.
They completely reworked how my army, Republic, works.
Yes.
In that there's no longer phase 1 and phase 2 clone troopers. It's all the same.
Clone troopers, which is nice. I do like that change.
Though the change they did instead is there's going to be long rifles. So like the carbines versus the long range ones, which makes sense because, when they show up in episode 2, they all have long rifles. So
where'd these come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm a big phase 1 fan anyways, so I'm glad that phase 1s aren't just flat out the worst choice.
See that? Yeah. Well, now you can kind of just mix them in and kind of like Heresy, the new sculpts, old sculpts, just they're different sizes and things. And anything else on Legion? That's the only games I can really talk about that I've played in the last month or two.
They released ARF Troopers. Or it's on pre-order now. I forget which, but I was wanting ARF Troopers for so long. My wish list units were Clone Commandos and ARF Troopers, and they are both in the game now. I've played with Clone Commandos, and they're very fun. And
maybe we should play Legion just to see.
They have Delta Squad as their own unit in the game. That is so cool.
That is now. Is that the
Republic Commandos?
Yes,
from the video game. They have a unique squad that is them. Man. It was funny because I really wanted them to because all they did is just add a card. It's a second card in there. But there was a lot of people kind of discussing it. That was a topic that came up a lot on the big Legion server. Okay. So many people were like, no one cares about that. It's like, well, everyone that's like my age that now has the disposable income to play this game was old enough to play Republic Commando when it came out.
It was a really fun game. I enjoyed it, but only having the 4 factions and everybody kind of building the same list was really a bummer. And maybe second change that a little bit, but I just wish they could do something else to...
They're doing a little bit with the battle forces now, where it's kind of you can lean into one thing or the other.
Okay.
So like Empire, you would have either
almost like a detachment.
Yes. So pretty much you would lean into, and it actually changed the way your list worked quite a bit. Like it would increase. You could only normally bring 2 ATSTs, and if you brought I think it's Tempest Force, but the indoor list, you could bring 3. And then scout troopers are no longer special forces. They're your core, like your battle line guys.
Okay.
So they do change stuff quite a bit on some of them. Some of them less so.
Yeah.
I know when I played with Matt a lot, he played the Wookiee battle force, which is basically just, instead of playing with clones, you just have all Wookiees now.
I wanted to do all Ewoks, just why not? But it was like, I need 9 boxes? Like, I can't do that.
Yeah, that's quite a few.
That's a lot.
Yes.
All right, cool, man.
Yep.
Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back, and we're going to talk about you.
Oh, boy.
Yay. Fun. And we're back. So this episode is really more of a introductory episode for you, I guess.
Yeah.
So this will be more like just an interview, I guess, to let everybody know who you are and why you're here. And if it's not clear by now, Mark is going to be joining me on the podcast going forward.
Yes, I'm very excited about it.
Starting from scratch. We still aren't entirely sure. I will edit this to where it says the right thing when the time comes.
It's all good.
So Mark, who are you?
Oh boy. Well, I'm a human from birth.
Planet Earth, I assume?
I've been told that, but I don't remember.
Secret lizard person. Yes. I like it.
Yes. Goodness. I guess in relation to this hobby, I started my first year in college. It wasn't with 40K, but I started with BattleTech, actually.
Oh.
Which is a very odd place to start, I feel like, for how old...
Were your friends like 40 years older than you in college?
No, it's me and my best friend love mechs and like big monsters.
I get that.
So it's kind of, we looked through at the time because there wasn't as much of a wealth of options back then.
The dark days of wargaming.
Yes, the dark days. 2016.
GW was not a public-facing company that talked to people back then, though.
Oh.
It was dark.
Oh, okay.
That was you get your codex update every 6 years, and you like it. Like, yeah, your book is 3 editions old, so what?
But, Yeah, I guess even before that, I first started kind of getting interested in this sort of thing anyways with HeroScape when that came out.
Okay.
Because that was everywhere. Pretty much all the kids in my neighborhood had HeroScape, so we would just come together. I would set up game days and invite friends from all over town.
That's fantastic.
And I would go beforehand to visit my friends and like take all their terrain to my place the night before. And then I would cover our entire dining room table and we'd spend like all day. We would get like maybe a third the way through the game.
Sure.
Because we'd spend the entire time just picking units. But my mom would make like, cookies and stuff. And I'd have the units for everyone to pick all across like the bar that we had. And yeah, so... I guess started early, but then the actual painting part started with BattleTech.
Funny you say that, and until you said that, it didn't realize this, but like my favorite game growing up was Armored Core. And looking back on it, I was like, there was a mini game. So interesting how that works. Yeah,
one of my my best friend he knew of Armored Core because From Software, he's a fan. So. I think both of us did research at the time, and BattleTech just kept coming up.
Sure.
So
I've always been BattleTech curious. There's not a huge community here, and
not
I
locally.
have enough as it is. Even though I do have a BattleTech starter set in the corner here.
The nice thing is the starter set's probably like 2 armies worth of guys.
It's pretty great.
Yes. I have played Alpha Strike, but I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Yeah.
It's streamlined and simple, and if that's what you want, that's fine. And there are other games I played that are like that, but to me, BattleTech is here's a table of things. It's the entire game is like driven by math and equations, and everything's like, I don't know who made it, but they were either a genius or insane or both. It's wild, but it takes into account kind of how hard you are to hit, takes into account how fast you're moving and, distance and how good you are at shooting. But it makes weaker, faster units so interesting because they are so hard to hit just because they're moving so fast.
Shane and I tried it a couple of times because we went to Adepticon like you do, and you buy into like 7 games because that's the problem there. But BattleTech has a huge presence, like massive cinematic tables and all the things. And my son was blown away at it. I was like, buddy, this is so far above Warhammer. Like we can't get into this until you are like ready to do math.
It's one of those, it's less learning unique rules. Like Warhammer, almost everyone's playing a different game pretty much, it feels like. Whereas BattleTech, it's kind of, once you learn the math for it, it's not that hard, but also there have been plenty of days when I've come home, from a long day of work. It's like, I don't have the brain power to play this game and sit here and try and do well with it. But
that's funny.
Yeah, the Kickstarters have done really well, so it seems to be coming back.
I hate that I didn't get in on that just because like the FOMO. I was like, man, there's some cool stuff.
What's nice though is all that stuff is in production now.
Oh,
you can just get it.
Not at that price. But,
sure.
That's like, oh, come on.
The price.
That's a great lead in for question number 2. And how did the 40K journey begin? So you start playing HeroScape, you get into BattleTech. At what point did you turn your eyes towards Games Workshop and the behemoth that is Warhammer 40,000?
So with Games Workshop specifically, I think I have to blame my uncle for that because when I was young, he would give me kind of these stories of things that would happen, and it was from years and years ago, but he remembered, and it was kind of, he got like his gamer tag from this one game where he had a chaos, I guess, champion fighting against 3 different armies, and everyone in his army died except this one champion, and they sent like multiple units, and he like killed them all and stuff.
Those were the days.
It sounded so cool, and he was so good at telling stories. That and Blood Bowl. So he played Blood Bowl when it was a miniatures game, but then also he showed me the computer game for Blood Bowl. Okay, so actually, I think the first Games Workshop game I ever played was Blood Bowl with him on the computer.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So. And I remember one day after he had told me that, I kind of just looked up Warhammer and was just scrolling through stuff. And I think that was the first time I ever went on Games Workshop's site. And I was like, this stuff is so cool. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do anything with it for a long time because I saw the price. And, and it was also the
kind of income.
Yeah. A small preteen me is probably not the target audience for that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of the fear of, oh, there's so much to do for this. You have to build it and paint it and prime it and all that. So it was kind of always the maybe later.
Yes.
And I guess the maybe later came when I was in college and I kind of moved. I transferred schools and it was kind of not the best period in my life. And it was kind of I need something to do because I went for engineering.
Sure.
I was like, I need something to do with my hands because my brain is fried. And Astartes, actually, I believe, came out around that time.
The shorts,
film? Yes. Okay. Not all of them, but like the first couple. And I think that pretty much sold me because I was looking at Kill Team.
What is this?
Yeah. And it was so cool. And so actually but it wasn't a Space Marine, actually, my first painted Warhammer miniature. It was a Skitarii.
Huh.
I don't know why. I just bought
the engineer in you, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that. And then, I painted my first squad of Space Marines as salamanders.
Nice.
Actually.
Good choice.
Yeah. I was just like, the green looks cool. So
we briefly had a salamanders army around here, and then
they're cool.
She decided she wanted to play Marines. So
sad.
Sold them in the Space Wolf slot, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, that's where the salamander gene seed comes from in his list.
Yep. Sorry.
It's fine. But so I kind of started collecting models and didn't actually play with them. Like I had several kill teams. Like I ended up having orcs, and Chaos Marines and Tau and Tyranids, and it was just kind of me buying one box of each of these things and just kind of experimenting.
I see a lot of people do that. It's like, no, it's so expensive. Focus,
I know.
Focus.
Which for kill team, that's fine.
Yes,
but it also helps if you play the game. And so when I actually got into 40K proper was very shortly after I got my first career job outside of after college.
Right.
And there was a game store locally, and I was really hoping it was probably something like Legion or something, but they said they were a Magic store primarily, but they just started pre-ordering. They were going to get their Warhammer display out, and they were going to start their league, and it was brand new. It's hey, if you come back in a month, we're starting this up.
Huh. Now, is this Manchester?
This was Columbia.
Oh,
this was game night.
Yeah.
Before they moved because they got they grew.
Okay.
Cool. But that was super cool. And then ended up picking Imperial Fists because I'm a masochist, I guess.
There's nothing wrong with a lot of yellow.
So I did have reasoning though. It was first of all, the bolters are just the best weapon in 40K period.
Yes,
there's no discussion there. Second, I wanted to have an army because this was 9th edition. I wanted to have an army that buffed bolters. And in 9th, Imperial Fists on 6s, the hits exploded. Which ends up not being that good of a rule. But on paper, I was very excited about getting to roll more dice. And that was about all I needed. And I picked Imperial Fists specifically because, I don't know if you knew this, you could pick Imperial Fists or Crimson Fists. And they were actually separate a little bit in 9th. Huh. And the difference was, I think, Crimson Fists got advantage when they were shooting at bigger units than them. And I actually painted some Crimson Fists first and then looked and I was like, I can't see what that is when that's 3 feet away from me. It's so dark blue. Yeah. So I was like, I guess I'm going with yellow. And I hated yellow at the time, but
it's not it wasn't an easy color to paint.
No.
It's gotten a lot easier with a lot of new brands and formulas and things like that.
Speaking of contrast paint, Imperial Fist contrast paint, and then dry brush some other stuff on it. It's very vibrant.
I've heard. I've seen.
Yes.
Very nice.
I'm quite happy with it. It's still a nightmare with all the black trim and anything, but I just chip up the armor. They're a little dinged up.
It works. It's fine. Yeah. You get your 3-color or battle ready standard or whatever it is. So you're golden.
It more like 20 paints.
It's like me with black. I've got 25 blacks just trying to figure out that perfect mix of this and that. And it's okay. Yeah. Anybody needs some Corvus Black from Forge World, let me know. I've got 12 pots of it.
Oh, that Forge World had a paint line?
Forge World had an airbrush line.
Really?
Ages ago.
I did not know that.
And then they were like, we're getting rid of the line.
Oh.
Last chance to buy.
Yeah.
So I bought 12 pots of it off of there and shipped it from Europe. And it cost me, it's $20 a pot or something insane. A year later, they come back as Games Workshop airbrush paints.
Oh.
Same color.
Well, at least you will never have to buy another pot of Corks.
It's such a good...
Or Corvus.
Yeah, Corvus black. I forgot the exact color. But it's such a thick, like heavily pigmented black. I love it, and I highlight with it. It's so good.
Okay. Oh, is that what your Raven Guard? Do they have any
That's
of that
the highlight, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I do Chaos Black, and then I think I Zenithal the Corvus Black on there.
Yeah.
Because it's like a shadowy gray almost. It's
Yeah.
a really cool color, but I've got so much of it. So much of it.
You just have to paint a lot of Raven Guard.
Oh, man. Well, soon at this rate, like I'm going to finish these Gene Stealers, and then we're going hard on the Heresy. So
That'll be cool. Yeah.
Yes.
It's I'm looking forward to that. That was fun.
I wish we could just get one or two more people into it. I'd sell half of this room, no questions asked. But that's neither here nor there. So on the topic of painting, do you prefer to paint or play or a little bit of both? Like, what's your drive in the hobby?
My drive, I've considered this often, and I've had people ask me, and it's kind of I've had like family members and stuff. They're like, "Oh, you should paint like bigger figures," and I have decided with I will maybe make an exception once or twice in my lifetime. I foresee it.
Yeah.
But painting for the sake of just painting to have a display, doesn't particularly appeal to me. Painting for a game has appealed to me.
Right.
So it's kind of, I feel like painting's a necessary evil for me, which is weird because I'm also a perfectionist with it. So it's kind of you have to sit down, but I enjoy it when I do it. But I just really like hanging out with people and kind of just, to me, all these games, not just 40K, they're all at their best when you're just kind of seeing what crazy stuff happens. It's kind of, this is just...
Let the dice tell the story.
Yes, and that absolutely sells me on all of this stuff. Because just, like I said, my uncle, my dad, I played with them a lot growing up. And it's kind of just... And that was with stuff without the paint. Right. So just, like little plastic figures and playing like Axes and Allies and all that stuff as a kid.
But those are the core memories that, at the end of the day, like if you ever have kids, like that's like, I want to do that with and it's me with my kid. He's not played the Necrons, but I can't sell him because he wants, one day he might be like, let's play, Dad.
He will awaken
soon.
Like a Necron.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
And I know for me too, with the hobby stuff, like I don't want to say I hate painting, but it's, if I know I sit in that chair, like I'm going to commit 2 hours to this.
Yes.
And part of me wants to paint like the big bust.
Yeah.
I think I showed you I printed the Mandalorian today.
Yeah.
And that was cool. the trial, because this dude also has a bunch of like X-Men bust. And it's like, I could print the big like 256 millimeter like X-Men team bust to go on the desk at work, but then I have to paint them.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I start that, like, but he's got everybody. He's got like 500 models.
Oh, wow.
He's got dioramas with things. Like it's so cool. Really he's got Star Wars stuff. Ooh. And hence the Mandalorian.
My favorite X-Man, Mandalorian.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, I want to paint something big.
Yeah.
But I don't want to paint something... Like, I've been printing a Harridan. And I've stopped it because, like, man, once this guy's glued together, like, I have to paint him.
You have to paint him,
And I don't want to paint him right now. It's such a big model. It's like an 18-inch wingspan. And I just... Yeah. It's so big.
At least you have an airbrush, though.
I do. I have like 4 airbrushes, but that's again neither here nor there.
Well, you have at least a singular airbrush.
Yes, I could do that. So with the hobby skills that you've picked up over the years, have you found that translating to real life things?
Weirdly enough, a little bit. Kind of the places I've worked at kind of like test centers and stuff. And actually some of it required a little bit of design, which is not directly the painting part.
Sure.
But I have some very rudimentary Battletech stuff I was working on in like CAD software and stuff. And so actually my pitch was, what helped me get the job was showing the stuff I had done. And it's like a mech. It's like, here, boom.
Yeah.
It's like, I can make this box really cool for you. It's just, I made a mech. Like,
I can figure that out. I know how to use the software.
Yeah.
He's fine. Sorry if you can hear the dog jingling. He wants to go out or something. It's rained all day. So now he's looking at me like, it's time to poo, Dad. Yeah, you know what I said. Go lay down. Good boy.
But yeah, a little bit. Kind of the, it's sad. My last job before I left, I found out one of my friends there sent me a message and they did like some scale miniatures for stuff. He's like, dude, you left too soon. Like, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so working with some of that, not straight up just like I am painting and doing that stuff, but I kind of use my hobby to fuel my desire to learn stuff. So that was kind of what I was using to learn some like software, which, I don't use it now, unfortunately, but it's kind of, I'm going to use something I really want to do to help me to learn something I don't.
Yeah. Well, even I found like I'm in IT for a school system, and even before that, the vending company, like just like using things like Milliput, and being able to like gap fill and just weird little things like that. I've like, I know I could fix this.
Yes, and super glue actually has come up a lot. Super glue and resin and a lot of like crafty stuff. Weirdly enough,
it's like, man, how did you learn to do this? Like, it's a long story that I don't have time for right now. Let's handle this, and then but yeah, my hobby stuff's been leaking into work more and more here lately. Recently took my Lego D&D minifigures, the 12 that came out that were going for like $100. People were ripping these things apart at Walmart, and you could just scan the barcode and it tells you what's in it.
Yeah,
it's like, guys, like, come on. So I ended up buying like the Lich or something. The last one I needed, I spent like $40 on eBay just to finish the set.
Yeah, the set.
But I finally took them to work, and so they're up just like, what are these? And it's like, oh, it's a thing, man. Just like, do you want the elevator pitch, or do you want to talk about this for 3 hours? Because this could go either way.
Flip a coin. That you reminded me with those little those packs. I didn't initially know when those started coming out, especially the Lego ones, and then Mega Bloks Halo did those as well.
Those looked so cool, but I never got into them.
I had a bajillion of them. I have like the kind of full scale display, Energy Sword and Needler at my place. They're fun. But
I have a bolt rifle back there ready to be assembled that I've 3D printed. It's just time to sit down. The darn G-Stealer cult taking all my hobby time.
They're getting in the way. But I didn't know the codes were a thing. So I'd just sit there in the aisle like a doofus, just like crinkling the bags.
Can I feel something?
Yeah. I got pretty good at it. But yeah, not one of my better moments probably.
Look, you weren't shredding them and just dumping them in the box. Like I was just I was so mad at Walmart. I was like, I'm not. If it looks like it's been open, like I'm not even touching it because I don't want, I'm on camera like, it's not me. Well, what besides Warhammer, do you have any Warhammer adjacent hobbies or things that you do, interest wise?
Well, I enjoy a lot of the games. Well, maybe not a lot. I enjoy some of the games, video games that Games Workshop's put out. Those are the new ones, like Vermintide, and
you played Space Marine 2?
I have played a little bit of it.
Okay.
My friend who I'm going to play it with is waiting for it to go on sale.
Oh, so it's good luck.
Yeah, it's kind of like, dude, you've just made me wait to play this with you for a year. It's like,
it's only been like 6 months.
I know.
In fact, I had Shane over, original co-host of the show, and he was like, yeah, I did the intro mission, like, it's really cool, blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, you're going to love it. Just get into it. And he texted me at like 9 a.m. the next morning. I was like, I just finished it. So he left here after hanging out for a couple hours and went and played that game all night because I hyped it up. And he was like, that was amazing.
I've seen so many clips. So I was playing on Veteran and I was getting stomped by myself.
I'm old now. I don't have time to like throw myself at a mission 45 times. I play on easy. That's how I beat Baldur's Gate 3. I just want to see the story and get out. I don't have time to like play that fight 15 times. And
well, I didn't expect it to be quite that grueling, but I tried controller and I had to swap to mouse because I was like, I'm getting killed by termagants that are shooting me across this map. I have to stop this.
So any other like genres of video games or just Warhammer stuff? Or
well, Helldivers.
I actually played that last night for the first time in a long time.
Oh, they've updated so much.
Yes, because all my weapon loadouts were just dog crap. But it was so cool. I was playing with a guy because it's just me in the mission. I don't party up. I just deploy, and if somebody joins, great. If not, like, I'm having a blast either way. That's how I do it. I'm old. I need to be able to like get out and can't commit to things. But this guy joined.
Yeah,
and clearly he was talking to like a younger kid, and the kid was like, "Dad, what's that?" Oh, that's how, and he was explaining the game to his son, and I didn't have my headset on. I'm just listening.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to hear the kid just be like, oh, and you can do this? And then like one of the big bugs showed up. The kid's like, oh my gosh. And he was just blown away by it.
That's super
cool. And I was like, man, like I wish my kid would come in here, but he's so into Fortnite and all that. I can't.
Boo.
Not right now. But yeah, I actually played 2 or 3 missions last night. It was cool. Good. I tried playing against the new threat.
Yeah, the Illuminate.
And died like 4 or 5 times just immediately. I was like, all right, let's go back to Terminids.
The So when those dropped, me and a buddy, because I have a group now, I guess thanks to Connor, thanks.
Nice.
Yeah, so we play pretty regularly. They more than me.
Yeah.
But I happened to be on one of the first groups to try and learn how to play, and it was we don't know what weapons work against these things.
And that was my problem.
Yeah, so it was basically just experimentation. And we were getting spanked on like level 4s. We play 10s normally for reference. And we were with 2 players. I think they maybe nerfed the spawn rate on them a little bit, but we were
that's nice.
As 2 people, we were getting drowned on level 4s. Wow. It was intense.
I think I started at 4 on that, and I got killed a couple, and I got close to something, and like I just died. And I was like, "What the heck?" I was like, "You killed by a lightning bolt." I was like, "What?" Then I spawned.
The Tesla towers.
I guess I spawned, and then like something dropped, and there's like 200 dudes running towards me. I was like, "Oh," and I died like 4 times. Like, you know what? Let's go to easy, and then let's go just blow up some bugs. And so that was me last night. Like, let's see what happens. Let's see how this goes. You know? Man, my computer. The only game that really stresses it out is Helldivers, and it got hot in here because that thing just whoa, and it's like, what is that noise? Like, oh, it's my PC because it never makes that noise.
Huh? I should pay more attention to that, but I'm not. I don't know if my computer started singing at me for that game.
Oh yeah, it's the only thing that does it, and I had completely forgotten. I was like, man, it's getting hot in here, and like it's loud. I thought my printer was running. I was like, nope, it's just Helldivers.
For me, it was MechWarrior 5 Clans that I got hoodwinked into playing.
I tried.
Unreal 5 just makes my computer want to jump off a cliff, apparently, because...
And I've got all new stuff. Like, I rebuilt that less than a year ago. I spent $700 on a video card.
Oh, wow.
It was like the 3rd on the list when I got it. And it's still just... It's like a jet engine taking off under my feet. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, apparently Unreal 5 is my computer's kryptonite because either that or the game is so poorly optimized. But I mean, we had all kinds of the standard. We're going to launch a game and you won't be able to play it for the first week.
Open beta test.
Yeah, here you go.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. Did you ever get into MMOs? I meant to ask you that. Like, you a Warcraft guy, Final Fantasy, EverQuest, perhaps?
I
avoided the crack.
Yes. Man. I very, very, very well. When I was very young, I played Spiral Knights, which was made by Sega, and it was like it's aimed at a younger audience.
Okay,
but it is. I think it still technically is classified as like an MMO.
Huh.
But the music in that is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it's like I played that, and then I realized that game was such a grind. They're all grinds, right?
Yeah. Look, I played Final Fantasy 11 in its heyday. Like that game, we lived on Japanese time. It was such a grind. Like we had to play with the good groups to see the content.
Oh, wow.
Because the American guys just couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
It was insane. Yeah. So between junior and senior year that summer, me and my buddy lived on Japanese time.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. No. Yeah. So I avoided most of that mainly because my friend group, we were big into like Minecraft and stuff back in the day.
Everyone was too, but this was like pre-Minecraft. I mean, it was
that is pre my my PC gaming.
I joked in the Discord just yesterday. I was like, I'm gonna date myself so hard when we start talking because I always manage to do it. And damn it, if I didn't just do it,
it's fine.
I know. My old grognard over here. I just
my supervisor is only like 3 years older than me, and he's a World of Warcraft guy.
Okay.
So
and see, I played a lot of Warcraft, but like, well, the reason I ask is I found an old guy during COVID. One of the OG devs for EverQuest started playing on one of the newer like time lock servers or whatever, where they start at like no expansion, they slowly expand.
Sure.
And like every 3 months we release an expansion for it. And he just started interviewing random devs that used to work with him.
That's cool.
And so you get like this 45-minute to 2-hour snapshot of a guy that worked customer service and became lead this, or a guy that wrote this expansion or built this zone. And maybe he was the guy that optimized that raid or did the, and it's just so cool because that was my childhood. Like me and my buddy Jacob started playing that in like 7th or 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
And that was like what we did, convince the parents to get a second phone line so I could have my own way to play.
That's cool.
And, we spent 6-7 hours a day after school playing this game. And to go back and listen to these guys tell the stories of like, oh man, we were doing the crunch to get out this expansion. Like it's It's really neat. So if anybody's listening and was an EverQuest fan, EverQuest 2, EverQuest Online Adventures, they've had people that did PlanetSide on, because all the teams were right there together. A Loving Robot on YouTube is his like VOD collection. And it's just, him literally sitting there having an interview and talking to like guys he worked with 20 years ago, building a game that changed the world of video games.
The behind the scenes stuff, that's really cool.
It is really, and of course, I'm like, oh man, I hated that zone, or I knew that was broken or something.
You did this.
And it's like, that's the guy responsible for that Planes of Power raid I hated. So it was really cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun.
Well, that's all I really have as far as questions. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else we should know about Mark? New chair, new co-host, new guy on the podcast? I mean...
Well, I'm very glad that thus far our luck has been about equal, because all of the places I have played, eventually after a couple games, they figure out how poorly I roll dice. And I don't know if it's like the way I hold my upper lip, or like if it...
That Heresy game we played was so bad because neither one of us could hit or wound anything.
Everyone was very durable. Of course, to be fair, we didn't resolve the melee combats correctly. But
even then, we weren't doing enough wounds to swing that clock either way. Or pendulum, not clock. Jeez. So yeah, I'm glad I found somebody that can match my bad dice.
Yes, it's and. Not that I mind getting stomped, because it's kind of
it's the dice, man. We're playing a game of chance at the end of the day.
Well, it's kind of if it's my story for all of my guys to die brutally, then they'll do it looking pretty, maybe.
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 My Gene Stealers are half painted. Another 6 months, and I might have these guys done.
Yeah, my Heresy Marines get the rest of them get painted, and they're not Primaris. Primaris proxies.
They looked good on the table, though. I had no issues with it.
Yeah, it's good to try out the game, because it is kind of... I already have a Space Marine
Try before
army.
you buy. It's
a
a very expensive hobby. Please.
Yes, I have dove headfirst into enough things that have ended up being maybe not what I wanted to play.
All right. Well, with that being said, I guess let's wrap this up. This has been episode 1 of Webway Radio. I'm Kurt.
I'm Mark.
And we'll catch you next time.
See ya.